did a freedom of speech video, and right now, frankly, freedom of speech is a really big thing. Talking point. Oh, no pun intended. And I did a video on freedom of speech, and with all honesty, guys, I have to wonder if a lot of what I'm dealing with isn't artificial intelligence that's fighting me, because whenever I do anything that is freedom of speech related or anything having to do with the election irregularities, which, by the way, guys, please don't act like that's a done deal and that you're just going to go off and do your own thing, because, guys, you're giving in, and that's what they want you to do. They're trying to get into the normalization phase where they get you to just say, they won, they beat us, let it go. Guys, stay in the fight, stay in the fight, stay in the fight. I keep getting people making comments that are so flipping ignorant. It's, oh, that would have been awesome if I'd actually hit. The commentary that I keep getting is interesting in that people keep going, you know, you're doing a video about freedom of speech, and yet you keep saying that you control the comment section. Well, yeah, guys, of course I control the comment section. This freedom of speech isn't just let speech. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech with internal controls. And if you don't understand internal controls versus external controls, then you probably are a child. Because if you're a parent, you understand the difference between internal controls and external controls. If you don't exercise internal controls as a child, then a parent has to step in and exercise external controls on your sorry butt. And that's what we're dealing with in society right now. We're dealing with the just let crowd who thinks that because they have something important to say, that they should just be allowed to say it at any cost. So I'll give you a very salient point that will help you recognize this from a very personal standpoint. Let's say that you were laying in bed and some dude decides to stand right outside your window with a bullhorn and start reading the newspaper. No, tell you what. Some guy stands outside your window in the middle of the night with a bullhorn and starts singing the national anthem. How many stanzas are you going to let him get into it before you call 911? Well, technically, you would be squashing his freedom of speech because he's not hurting anybody. He's standing out there singing the national anthem, right? Well, guess what? He's breaking the law. It's called disturbing the peace. And as a police officer, I had to deal with some of those people. Whenever we would have concerts here at the McKenzie Arena in Chattanooga, the Mennonites would show up and they'd stand across the street, I think it's 3rd Street, and they'd stand across 3rd Street on the side with blood assurance. Look it up on Google. They'd stand across the street and they would scream at people on this side of the street trying to go to the concert. Now, did I disagree with the Mennonites? Not really, because Kid Rock is a bit of a cockroach. And the music and the lifestyle that he espouses is, you know, a cockroach lifestyle. But the fact of the matter is, there were limitations to their freedom of speech. They couldn't come over and stand on the sidewalk because the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga had laid out protocols that did not allow them to come onto their property and start raising hell with the people trying to come to the concert. Once again, did I agree with the Mennonites? Yeah, with all honesty, I kind of did. Because what they were preaching was truth, but the manner in which they were preaching it was not very helpful. So for those of you who think that freedom of speech means just let, grow up, because freedom of speech has never meant just let. What freedom of speech has always meant was that you could speak out against your government, and your government exercised the control of self, government as a whole, to not come to your house, kick in your door, murder you, your wife, your children, your dogs, and your donkeys, and burn your entire village to the ground. That's what freedom of speech was about. It was meant to put a leash on government by fear of the people, by fear of this right here. Yeah, by fear of this right here. The United States government, in whatever form that it's in right now, knows that we're all armed. They understand that concept, which is why they're coming for your guns on paper. This video began as a video about freedom of speech, but honestly, it's morphing into something else. This is a message to all the police officers. In fact, I'm going to take my glasses off because I want you guys to clearly see my face and my eyes when I say this, so that you understand this is not a threat. But I want the police officers who are watching this to understand you hold the power. Yeah, you do. Ladies and gentlemen in uniform, you hold the power over our country right now. Let's back the clock up a little bit and let's consider Gretchen Whitmer says to the Republican slate of electors, you're not allowed in the people's house. And all we heard on the news on both sides was Gretchen Whitmer restricts blah, 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 this and that. Was it Gretchen Whitmer? No, it was this guy and the one behind him. They were the ones that were actually standing in the doorway, not Gretchen Whitmer. Or the health department, the mayors, the governors, the, you name it. All the people who have been inflicting pain and suffering on United States citizens, they're not the ones that are doing it. They're the ones that get the credit for it. Mayor so-and-so, governor so-and-so, you know, they put closure demands on businesses and blah, blah, blah. Who's enforcing them? The cops. The cops are enforcing them. Ladies and gentlemen of law enforcement, I used to be one of you, so I'm going to speak to you directly when I say this. You hold all the power right now in America. You have the power en masse. If all of you decide to say, we're not going to enforce that, what's your police chief going to do? He or she's going to get fired. You're right. Well, guess what, police chief? You're going to have to make your decision as well. Command staff, you're going to have to make your decision as well. Are you going to uphold the oath that you swore? Or are you going to steamroll the United States citizens for a paycheck? And to those of you cops who have disdain for the populace, because a lot of you watching this that aren't cops don't know this about cops, but I'm going to tell you. A lot of cops that I've worked with, cops who are going to punch me in the nose when I say this right now. Cops, and I want to be very clear when I say this, not every, but a lot of the cops that I worked with refer to the private citizenry as fucking citizens on a regular daily basis. A complete disdain rather than empathy. They showed apathy toward the general public, and it was really hard to see. And on one particular occasion, you guys have heard me say the story, and I'm going to say it again. On one particular incident, I was out on a Saturday afternoon patrolling. I got a call that I needed to go to somebody's house. I went to the house, talked to the lady. She said, those people are disturbing my peace. And I said, who people? She said, they're going door to door and they're peddling books. And I was like, who? She goes, the Mormons, Jehovah's Witness. My apologies. I forget if the Mormons and Jehovah's Witness are the same, but it was the Mormons. And by the way, guys, I've invited the Mormons into my home and fed them and sat with them and listened. And when they offered me books, I took them. And I wished them, God bless you, have a nice day, and I sent them on their way. Guys, there's nothing wrong. They're missionaries. They're doing their job. They're doing their calling. Anyways, so the Mormons were knocking on doors, and they were not supposed. She said they're not supposed to be doing that because I have colored stickers on my mailbox, and the stickers in our town. This sticker said this, that said that a peddler could knock on your door. This sticker said no, the peddler couldn't knock on your door and they had to move on. And if they have a peddler's license, they would have been made aware of this. Well, guess what? When you're a missionary, you don't need a peddler's license. So I show up, I take the lady's information. Okay, ma'am, I'll look into it, which is what we cops say when we just want to be done. So as I walk back to my car, my sergeant comes rolling up and he says, you know, what's going on? And I fill him in. And he says, well, Miranda, you need to take care of that. And I said, sir, take care of what? And he says, you need to ask him to leave. I said, sir, I can't do that, and I'm not going to do that. And he says, I'm ordering you. And I said, and then I stood at attention, and I said, sir, I will not follow that order. I didn't scream it at him. I didn't, you know, I just stood at attention and I said, in an official capacity, I said, sir, I will not follow that order. It is a violation of their First Amendment rights of freedom of speech, freedom of religion. And I remember standing there thinking to myself, well, great. I just opened an internal affairs investigation on myself. That's awesome. And for real, guys, I thought I was going to get written up for it, so I actually did an official report, got an official report number, wrote the report, and that was that. Well, I never heard anything from it because I stood up. I stood up in fear of my job. I stood up flat out knowing, because I knew the people that I worked with, and unfortunately I worked for one of those agencies that love doing this to people. And I stood up anyways, and I did what was right. I practiced little courage because, well, let me rephrase that. I practiced courage. Now, what was that? Oh man, jeepers. That was a decade ago. Almost a decade ago. I practiced little courage, but then it was big courage. But now I'm able to look back and realize that was little courage. But I practiced courage because it was needed of me. And in the end, I won. And really, who really won was the citizen. The citizens won and the Constitution won because I stood up for the Constitution. And so what I say to those of you police officers who are just following orders, first of all, that's the Nuremberg defense, and that didn't end well for those guys. And secondly, I need you to please remember that we are citizens, we're not subjects. And I don't know how else to put this, but it's unsavory to have to say this, but guys, remember, you have to live in the very community that you're policing. So if you're not showing respect for the citizens, you're creating your own problem. So when your local Nazi governor, mayor, whatever, says to you, hey, you need to go and do this, that, and the other, you need to say to them, no, you need to go to hell, because that goes against the Constitution. I live in Hamilton County, Tennessee, where we've had this rolling mask mandate, and I forget how, they keep renewing it every so many weeks or whatever, and of course it's going to be renewed until Jesus comes. And this stupid mask mandate has so many freaking holes in it, it's not even funny, and yet there are people all over the place who don't realize there are so many howevers that are written into this mask mandate. It's a joke. Guys, if you are hard of hearing, you're exempt from having to wear a mask. If you care for a person who is hard of hearing, you're exempt from having to wear a mask. If you feel oppressed when you wear a mask, you're exempt from having to wear a mask. And the list goes on and on and on. Everyone knows masks don't help. If you're stupid enough to think a mask helps, then you probably shouldn't be eating anything from anyone unless you're cooking the food yourself, because man, folks, oh good, so you went to the drive-thru and they handed you your food in a little plastic towel. Oh, it's safe. They're wearing a mask and I'm wearing a mask. It's safe. Really? The kid that made your food in the back was probably holding his cell phone, wearing gloves, but it's the same phone he was holding in the bathroom 20 minutes ago, but he washed his hands when he went back to work and he put on some gloves, but he didn't wash that phone, did he? And then he made your food. I know I ruined today for a lot of you people. I really don't care. Wake up, grow up, put on your big boy and your big girl pants, and get in the fight, folks. America is already in the ditch. We have already lost the Republic. The question is, are they going to completely mothball the whole thing, put us in bondage? You have to answer that question for yourself, because I'm not going to answer it for you. God bless you all. Better get those guns out and practice. Freedom ain't free, folks.